This episode is for the writer who's actually really good at sitting down to write. Procrastination probably isn't your kryptonite, at least once you've made writing a habit. I can bet that you're disciplined and committed to the projects that matter to you. You wouldn't have even considered writing your memoir if you didn't have some chutzpah behind it. But for reasons you can't quite figure out right now, you're still not finished. And it's starting to drive you crazy. Let's talk about it. And stick around until the end of the episode because I'm announcing something new and fun, and it comes with a little holiday sparkle. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. If all you needed was discipline for your writing, your memoir would have been finished months, maybe even years ago. Today, we're talking about why that is, and the writing shift that will get you out of writing harder, which is what you've been doing, and into writing smarter, which is what will let you finish. The shift will determine whether or not you finish your memoir within the next 12 months, or whether you'll still be circling the same set of problem chapters that you've been trying to decode for forever. This principle is the core of my memoir method, and once you see how this fits into your memoir, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's talk about what I mean when I talk about writing harder. So much of writing advice available focuses on what you do as a writer. Set a regular time to write in the same place every day, handwrite morning pages. And while consistency is important and it is invaluable to know how to get your creative juices flowing, if this part is all that you focus on, you'll just end up trying to write harder because you're just focusing on what you do. I want to talk about writing smarter. So that frustration that you feel every time you open up your document, and you're actually really good at opening that document. You're really good at sitting down to get it started. That frustration that you feel whenever you open it is not because you suck at writing, because you don't. You don't suck at this. You just don't have clarity about what you're writing. And you can't write more words to find clarity. That's not how it works. So we've talked about the difference between rewriting and revising, correct? Rewriting is where you fiddle with sentences and you make them sound prettier. You are probably really good at rewriting. Revising, though, this is where you do the work of understanding what your story actually means, and you use that to dictate what you rewrite on the page. It is really easy to hide in the rewrites because revision and the clarity that you need behind an effective and impactful revision, that's the hard part. And because we are humans, we're usually really good at subconsciously avoiding things that we perceive will be hard. So you think you're doing the hard part, all the rewrites. That's not the hard part. The hard part is actually getting clear on what you're writing. Maybe you haven't even realized that yet. So if you've opened your document at any point in 2025, you've stared at it, you've scrolled for 10 minutes and then closed it again, this is why. I want to tell you a story about one of my favorite clients this year. She reached out to me almost a year ago, this time last year. So she was coming to me fresh from work with another editor. And she was pretty frustrated with some advice that she received. After going through this other editor's feedback, she legitimately thought that she would have to basically rewrite her entire manuscript to make it publishable. I could feel the dread coming from her in waves, even through the Zoom call. I could feel that overwhelm. Once I read through both her original chapters and the ones that she had tried to rewrite already, I assured her that we actually could work with her original draft. And in fact, in my opinion, her manuscript would actually suffer if she rewrote it in this one style. And the relief that she felt that I could sense from her was just as palpable as her dread had been. So with that, we got to work. We went deep into her story, and I privately led her through my memoir method so that she could lock into her clarity for her story. And it clicked. Once it did, she revised her entire memoir manuscript in just a handful of months. And during this time, She took breaks. She went on a few trips. She celebrated family birthdays. So it wasn't even like she was working on her manuscript 24/7 for 3 months. She had a life and also finished her memoir manuscript over the summer. A month or so ago, this writer handed off to me her newest draft for a full line edit. So this is a service I offer only to writers who have been private clients of mine who have gone through this memoir method. She didn't get here by writing harder. She was already good at that. She was really good at sitting down and writing. And she was also already a really good writer. She was a fantastic writer. She finished her manuscript because she wrote with clarity. And that is when everything in her experience as a writer and an author changed. That is what allowed her to actually finish her draft. So I'm going to give you 3 signs that you might need a little bit more clarity. Consider these red flags so that you can assess how strong your clarity with your memoir actually is. Ready? First, you can't tell me what your memoir is about in 30 seconds or less. I see this with literally every writer that I work with. I will ask them what their memoir is about, and they spend 10 minutes or more explaining it to me. If you cannot tell me what you're writing in 30 seconds or less, you need more clarity. Second, you say that you are revising, but your word count shows something different. I know that you know you need to cut that word count. But whittling it down feels like torture, and you're finally understanding what it means to have to, quote, kill your darlings, cut your favorite parts. If you are having a beast of a time getting your word count down, you need more clarity. And third, you are never quite in love with what you've written. You revisit the same chapters and scenes, but you are secretly second-guessing every single rewrite. If you keep waffling on things like word choice, whether that sentence should go before or after the other, you don't have enough clarity, and all of your rewriting time is mostly useless. And I feel so mean saying that, but it must be said. You're not using your time wisely if you are rewriting without clarity to back it up. Here's what you do next. I'm not going to ask you how many of these you checked off for yourself, but if you do want to DM me and let me know, I won't say no. I find this actually very interesting to figure out what exactly your red flags are with clarity in your memoir. It will make it a little bit easier for me to help you. First things first, however, there's nothing wrong with you. I can list off those signs that you are not nearly as clear in your memoir as you need to be, precisely because I've seen these patterns repeat themselves with literally every single writer who has ever paid me to help them. Clarity is a mental skill set that you can learn. And not to toot my own horn, but I'm actually really good at teaching it. So let's talk about this memoir method. This is what I have privately walked so many writers through. That's what I walked this writer through to help her go from really frustrating, discouraging feedback that she feels like she has to implement because that's what the professionals said, to tapping into her own clarity and then using that to drive her revisions. And then I get to be in a supportive editorial coaching role from there. This is my signature methodology that I have been refining since I first started working with memoir writers 5 years ago. This exists because I saw that while writers like you have the vision, commitment, and talent to write, it can get you only so far if you don't have clarity. I've had other iterations of this process outside of my private work, and I'm bringing it into a full cohort-style program in a way that I've never done before. The Memoir Method is my new 8-week live program where I walk you step by step through identifying your message, shaping your story around it, and making revisions that actually move your book past the finish line. I've actually run the Memoir Method as a group-style program before, but never quite like this. So this is not just a self-paced course that will end up on the proverbial dusty shelf. Yes, you have access to my full Memoir Method curriculum, but in this course coaching hybrid, you will have my eyes directly on your work. I will pace with you, give feedback, and coach you weekly so that your clarity will really lock in for you. If you are listening to this episode when it drops, you will know that today's Black Friday. For the holiday season, I am offering a fun bonus to the first 5 writers who enroll in the winter 2026 cohort of the Memoir Method. For the first 5 writers who join the Memoir Method, they will get a bonus one-on-one intensive with me to supplement your work inside of the Memoir Method. I always offer one-on-one intensives as an add-on to the program, but for the first 5 writers, it will be free. So this is a fun bonus. I'm really excited to gift this to the first 5 people who join me inside of this container. Once those spots are gone, they're gone. I won't be adding anymore. So if you know for sure that you are going to be in the room when we kick off the cohort in January, then go ahead and enroll now so that you can get that bonus one-on-one intensive. All of the links that you need will be in the show notes, including a link to learn more about the Memoir Method program and what it includes, what it involves, what to expect. I will be talking about this more over the next few weeks, and you can always find me online on either Instagram at the.memoir.coach or directly through my email at hello@bookishnets.com. I'm happy to talk to you about whether the Memoir Method program would be a good fit for you. The point of this program, the point of this experience, is to help you unlock that clarity for you and for your story and your manuscript. What I've been able to figure out as a professional is how to support you and giving you the tools to figure out what your memoir is actually here to do for you and for your reader and for your story, and then how to shape your story around that message so that it is exactly what your reader needs. And not one writer has written the same memoir or has had the same creative process. This is a program I haven't seen anywhere else, and I really just want you to be clear on your writing and on your memoir and its message, because when you have that, you're confident. When you have that, you know how to use your time. When you have that, you feel amazing about what you're writing. You know what to revise, and you fast track the process. Like, you finish, and it's the coolest feeling to send that to your editor. It's the coolest feeling to say, oh my gosh, I'm done. And that is what the Memoir Method is here to help you. Like, I want to help you get to that line, to get to that finish line so you can move on in the publishing process. So I'm really excited for all of you who will be joining me in this experience. All the links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening today. Happy Thanksgiving to all my listeners in the States, and I will see you next week.
You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.